We are 15 days away from Rosh Hashanah. The year just flew by and we're already coming close to a new year. The year 5782. Very interesting. In the Jewish calendar, we know that every 6 years, after a cycle of 6 years, there is what we call the sabbatical year, the Shemitah year. The Shemitah year is a year of rest for the land, a year where people have to consecrate and take their time and use it for the study of Torah. One of the commentaries, the Chochmat Shlomo, Rabbi Shlomo Peretz, explains why this mitzvah is specifically the mitzvah of Shemitah. The mitzvah of Shemitah is a mitzvah that comes every 6 years on the 7th year. Why? The Talmud in Brachot discusses the fact that there are 2 times in the year, 2 months in the year, where you should not bother the rabbis, and the rabbis cannot study Torah with the same intensity and give themselves over to their studies without interruption. Obviously, these 2 months is the month of Pesach, which is the month of Nisan, as well as the month of Tishrei, which is filled with holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchat Torah. So says the Chochmat Shlomo something very interesting, an idea that I really enjoyed. He says, if you take 2 months over a period of 6 years where the rabbis are not able to study and the Jewish people are more busy and study less, you come out to a period of 12 months that you did not study Torah. So it's time to stop. It's time to take a year, a sabbatical, and to actually concentrate yourself in the study of Torah. Concentrate yourself in Kedusha, in holiness. The land is put to rest, which means the physical matter, so to say, is put to rest in order that you should be able to elevate yourself, focus on your inner connection. And we know what happens when the land is put to rest. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God says in the Torah, He will bless not only the 6th year, He's going to bless the 7th year, He's going to bless the 8th year in such a way that you have an abundance. And indeed, this is what we've seen. The last Shemitah year, if you remember, we had the great miracle that because Jews decided to harvest the land for the last harvest in the middle of the summer, right? Because they harvested the land, therefore, we were able to discover that our enemies had created tunnels and wanted to do a mass destruction and go and destroy the Jewish people on Rosh Hashanah, Chaz v'Shalom. And in the merit of Shemitah, we were saved. So already the tone of this year is a tone of peace, a tone of shalom, a tone of disconnect from the physical, not disconnect in a way that you're not involved in the physical, but rather disconnect in a way that everything is done in a way of resting. The land rests. You are able to focus on what you need to do without having to struggle for it. You trust God, just like Shabbat is a gift from Hashem, and on Shabbat belongs to God, so too the year of the Shemitah is a year that belongs to Hashem. Your worries of parnasah, of sustenance, of whatever you need are going to be taken care of by God. And therefore, let me call this year a year of trust. Oh, beautiful. I had an idea that just came to my head. This year is 5782. And if you look in Hebrew, that spells out the letter is Pei Bet. Pei Bet, maybe we could say Petichat Bitachon. Why? Teheshnat Ptichat Bitachon. This is the year where you open up a true trust in Hashem. The Tzemach Tzedek, in his Biurei HaZohar and his explanations of the Zohar on Parashat Va'era, explains the whole concept of bitachon, of trust. He says, bitachon, trust, the word boteach comes from the word tiach, which is cement. What happens when you take two bricks and you cement them together? These two bricks now become one. They become inseparable from one another. It's inconceivable that you should be able to move one without moving the other. He says, bitachon means that you cement your faith, you cement your belief, you cement yourself into Hashem. And he gives the example. And he says, just like a person, a friend that you trust, where you completely rely on him and you have absolutely no worry, this friend will come through for you. For example, when you are standing, you're leaning against a wall or a beam, you have no worries that the beam is going to fall. Every morning we say in our tefillah, Roka haaretz al hamayim, blessed are you, God, that you extend the land over the waters. Because really there's water. The land should not be so stable. But we rely on the land and we absolutely trust to go, and it's okay, it's going to be good. We're not worried that someday the land is going to open, a sinkhole is going to open, God forbid, we're going to fall. The concept of bitachon, of shmita, is a state of mind where you're going into the year knowing that you have nothing to worry about. Hashem will completely support you. Hashem is there, and you have your full trust in your heart that God will come through for you. In the Zohar Kadosh, it says this has to be with a tokef. The concept of tokef in Hebrew means with an inner strength, with an inner belief in such a way that nothing will stop you. And therefore, I'm already signing the check before the funds are in the account. Yes, pretty irresponsible. But when you know you have God as a partner, at that moment, you know you have your support system is there. So already to introduce the coming year, let us know that this year is a year of ptihat habitachon. God opens the possibility, the capacity for every Jew to rely, to trust, to unite, to fusion himself with God in such a way that when it comes to things of the land, when it comes to things of physicality, a person does not have to worry. He goes forward and he knows this is the only support he has. Obviously, relying on the government, whatever government it is, it's impossible. We know that is completely not stable. Relying on Hashem, Ashrei Haish, Ashrei HaGever, Asher Yiftah B'Hashem, V'haya Hashem Yiftacho. It says, we say every day in our prayer, happy is the man that trusts in God, and God is his insurance. Imagine a person buying a Rolls Royce, right? A Phantom Rolls Royce that's worth $350,000. And the gentleman says to you, please enjoy the ride. I'm lending you my car. But you're not insured on the car. How are you going to drive the car? You're going to really enjoy to its fullest capacity the nice drive, the smooth drive, driving on clouds. Or it's going to be like very nervous. I don't want to go too fast. Not too much to the right, not too much to the left. What happens the moment the person tells you, don't worry about it. I'm completely covered. There's no deductible. Go ahead and just enjoy it. You're going to go on the road and you're going to try and you're going to experiment with the car and you're going to feel something special. There are two ways. This is what David HaMelech says. Ashrei HaGever asher yiftar b'Hashem. Happy is the man that trusts God, and God is his insurance. I completely rely on Hashem. At that moment, I know that even when I take a wrong exit, it's for the right reason. Because I trust this is what needs to happen right now, and this is the best, and it comes out to be the best. And the more a person strengthens himself in this trust, the more Hashem shows him his presence. If you really want to experiment Hashem, this is the way. Before I continue on this subject, I want to show you how beautiful trust can be. This morning, I had an incredible meeting. A gentleman that was a soldier taken by Arabs and that had to forego many operations, was in the hospital. He showed me pictures. He walks with two types of crutches, but the man is super intelligent, very good-hearted, a happiness on his face. I was very humbled this morning. I sat with this gentleman for half an hour. My assistant, Brad, which takes care so graciously of all the technical stuff, was trying to get my attention. I just gave him my attention. I was so taken by this young man. And he tells me about the fact that when he was in the hospital, there's a woman, a religious woman, that took interest in him. And they started talking and they started connecting. The parents were very upset. Why are you connecting to a man which is going to be handicapped, that will not be able to function with himself? He won't be by himself. They pushed her to go and speak to the doctors. She spoke to the doctors. The whole team was there, the psychologist, the psychiatrist, the surgeon, the neurologist, everybody was there and said, excuse me, young lady, you're going to get married to this man. You're going to have to change his diapers, literally. This man will not take care of himself. He'll never have children. This woman with an inner strength, with a true trust in Hashem, looked at the doctors and they said, thank you very much. You are doctors. You have no right to declare an end or what will be, what will not be. You have a role and a mission to heal, and that's all you can do. She decided to go on and to get married to this man. Baruch Hashem, they have 6 children. Today, I asked him to show me a picture of the family. If you look at the purity on the face of each one of these children, the holiness that comes out of these children, it's as if these neshamot, these souls, could only come down from a situation of difficulty. Baruch Hashem, he is completely healthy. He walks with crutches. Hopefully Hashem will take the crutches away and will be his support. But this couple is a happy couple. Where did this come from? This comes from his trust in Hashem, her trust in Hashem, their trust in one another to be able to build. This is the Hashgacha Pratit with divine providence. It just happened a few minutes ago. I met with this young man. I was not intending to talk to you about this story, but I'm so deeply touched by it and humbled that I think to myself, as we're coming to a year of Shemitah, where a person says, where's my support? Where are my physical, financial crutches that I should feel confident with myself? God says, this year is a year of a sabbatical year, a year of Shemitah. Don't worry about physical things. Worry about connecting with me. Worry about attachment of me. Worry about trusting and let me prove myself. The more you are attached to me, the less you will have to worry about anyone else. So this year, this is one thing. A year which is a sabbatical year. A year of trust. A year of power. A year of focus. A year of purpose. On the other hand, God makes it that our trust, our purpose, our connection should last for a longer time. We know that the lunar cycle is about 354, 355 days, which is interesting. According to the numerical value, 355 is Shin Nun Hey, which means the word Shana, a year. On the other hand, you have the year, which is a leap year. In order to make up, in order to balance the seasons, that the month of Pesach, the month of Nisan should fall at the springtime when it's supposed to, and not in the middle of the summer or the winter. In order to bring back a balance in the years between the solar and lunar calendar, our sages established the concept of a leap year. You take the month of Adar, which is the last month before Nisan, a month of Simcha, of joy, and you double it. You take these 30 days that accumulated themselves over a period of 2 to 3 years, and you rebalance the year. And you calibrate the year. You bring that extra month of Adar. So this year, we have 2 Adars. It's a leap year. 60 days of joy. And at the same time, a leap year means that it's a year that has about 385 days. 385 is the numerical value for the word Shekhinah, God's presence, God's revelation. And besides that, it means that we have another 30 days, extra days of Shemitah, of sabbatical year, of rest, 13 months. The Baal Shem Tov explains that during the 12 days from the 18th of Elul all the way to Rosh Hashanah, each day you have the power to prepare a month of the year. One day, 1 month, every day, you are able to reconnect and repair everything. Now, Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the year, and it's followed by the holiday of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, a day of introspection, a day where we calculate and we re-examine where we put our energy, where we invested ourselves, in what we invested ourselves. And we make a just accounting of what happened and ask for forgiveness. We abandon what we did and we took upon ourselves new resolutions. If you look at the order of things, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year, and then the accounting. Any good businessman knows that before you start a new year, before I invest in this and this product, which I'm selling, for example, I have to see, where is it really worth it to invest? This product sold well, this didn't. I'm going to invest in this and not that. And then I start my year fresh. Imagine if Yom Kippur was at the end of the year, maybe even 10 days before Rosh Hashanah, we would already be cleansed and come into the new year with fresh, clean clothes, spiritual garments, and a special clean face before Hashem. But the way we do it, the Jewish people, it's just like when we say, Shalom Aleichem to somebody, peace upon you. What does he answer? He doesn't answer Shalom Aleichem. He says, Aleichem. Us Jewish people, we seem to do things a little, not really straight. Rosh Hashanah and after Yom Kippur. Well, the question is only a question if you don't understand what Rosh Hashanah means. The head of the year means. Rosh Hashanah is not the beginning of the year, loosely translated as the new year, but rather Rosh, the head of the new year. What is the head? Imagine for a second, you have help at home. You live in Florida. In Florida, sometimes, unfortunately, you cannot rely on the help you're going to get. One day they'll do things their way, the other day another way, and they'll find somebody else which will pay them more, and they'll leave you. Imagine you have some cleaning staff, and you hire them and you tell them, please take care of the children's room first, because I need to put the baby to sleep at 10 a.m. and then take care of the rest of the house. And they make the mistake of taking care of the rest of the house and then the baby room. And you tell them, that's not what I told you. And they say, I'm sorry, right? And again, it happens a second time. And they say, I'm sorry. It happens a third time. And again, they say, I'm sorry. At that point, you realize that they're not sorry. What is the big problem of this employee that you hired? It's not that they're not following orders. They're not accepting your authority over them. They're not accepting the fact that you are paying for them. And you work. I'm sorry, you're not the one working for them. They work for you. So before anything, before you come to ask for forgiveness, I was my own boss. And I realized that you are my true boss. You are the one that gives me the possibility, the opportunity to work and to serve you. That's what we're doing. Rosh Hashanah, we don't ask for forgiveness. We don't say, God, chatanu lefanecha, we sinned before you. Rosh Hashanah, we do what's called marchuyot, zichronot, shofarot. We blow the shofar. We remind ourselves and we remind God of our special connection we have with Him. And we declare, Meloch al kol ha'olam kulo bichvodecha. God, rule over the world. You are our king. Avinu malkenu. En lanu melech ela ata. Our father, our king. We have no other king but you. Which means we recognize that at the root of all the problems, at the root of our lack of connection, lack of sensitivity, lack of bonding with you. There is one problem. And that is that we don't fully accept your authority as our king. And therefore, on the day of Rosh Hashanah, after we spent a whole month with the king in the field, spiritually speaking, what happened is that God, which is among us in a revealed way during the month of Elul, God on the day of Rosh Hashanah goes to his palace and he has no desire to be the king. We have to arouse within God the desire to rule over us again. How do we do this? We do this by completely surrendering to Hashem. You see, when you create a vessel, if the vessel is half full, you will only be able to fill it half. If the vessel is empty, the vessel will be filled by however much it can really contain. We empty ourselves of ourselves. We create this vacuum inside of ourselves. We surrender, we accept you as our king, and we say, God, we want you as a king, nobody else. We don't want the president of the United States. We don't want the prime minister of Israel. We don't want the billionaires of the world to be our kings. We don't want our friends or our circle of influence to be those who rule over us. We want you, and we want you only. We are going to completely take our minds, our intellectual capacity, our emotional capacity, our power to do, capacity of doing, and we're just going to give ourselves over to you. It's not by accident that our sages say, "Bakeseh leyom hagenu." It says in the verse that the month of Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, the first day of the month of the first year, of the beginning of the year, Rosh Hashanah, is on Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh, the end of the month, is a moment where the moon, which we, the Jewish people, resemble the moon, because just like the moon receives from the sun, we receive from God and shine his light in the world. The moon is at its closest point to the sun. And the moon is nothing but a dot. And then slowly but surely, as it goes away from the sun, it starts growing till it becomes on the 15th of the month, Chag HaSukkot, a full moon. Which means the beginning of the month, Rosh Hashanah, is the only holiday that starts when we are just but a dot, a little point, nothing. We don't miss the point. We are the point. We're nothing but a dot. We're nothing but a recipient. And that is the concept of the blowing of the shofar. The blowing of the shofar is a cry from within the deepest levels of the soul, where I cry out to Hashem because there are no words. That cry out is, be my king. Tati, my king. My king. But at the same time, umalchuto beratzon kiblu alehem. It is important to receive God's yoke with joy. I will quote the words of the Rebbe, bebitul atzum ubesimcha rabah, with tremendous self-nullification, but with an immense joy, I received the yoke of Hashem. At that moment, I really have nothing to worry about. Once I've accepted God as a king, just like the gentleman we spoke about before, I completely, fully trust in Hashem. And therefore, Hashem is my support. Just like the woman that saw in him the true soul he is and relied on this. That's how you build yourself. You build yourself by annulling yourself, by nullifying yourself before Hashem. And then you can come before the king and say, now that I recognize you're my king, my king, we sinned. Forgive me. One day, there was this young girl that was on a plane. She was on a plane ride, and the plane was very, very shaky, going up and down, and people were screaming. I recently had an experience like this on a plane. And she was there drawing. Everything was fine. Everybody was panicking. They said, the person sitting next to her said, young lady, how old are you? He says, I'm 8 years old. He said, aren't you scared? Don't you see what's happening around you? It seems the plane is going to crash. There's lightning and thunder. Why aren't you worried? And the young girl said, because my father is the pilot, and therefore I'm not worried. When you know that your father is the pilot, when you understand that at the moment you blow the shofar, what happens? This is the moment that you accept that this is the moment that God becomes, you draw down the presence of Hashem to rule again in an obvious way as the king of the earth. And on a personal level, the more you surrender, the greater, the more this king takes over your life. So I'd like to leave you with a question this year. As we come to Rosh Hashanah, this is the 48 hours. It's interesting, it's Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year. 48 hours. In Hebrew, 4. If you take the letter Mem and Chet together, it spells the word Moach, the brain. This is the only holiday celebrated 2 days in the diaspora and in Eretz Israel and in the land of Israel. 2 days, 2 brains. The brain is not only a brain, it's the microcosm of the whole body. Everything that happens during Rosh Hashanah establishes the way it's going to be for the rest of the year. Your sustenance, your health, everything is determined on Rosh Hashanah. So if you're going to say, but God forbid, maybe there are decrees on me and things are not going to happen because I saw what happened the year before and the year before, and look what's happening in the world. You have to know that at an individual level, if you surrender and you exert, you put in practice self-nullification on Rosh Hashanah, during these 48 hours, you have taken upon yourself who you want your king to be. So this is the question I would like to leave you with. This year, who do you want should rule you, should rule over you? A good friend of mine, psychologist, Rabbi Shmuel Stalber of blessed memory, once told me, what is this concept? The whole Rosh Hashanah, we say, God, put your fear over us, your awe over us. People pay psychologists millions of dollars in America every year to take away fears. And we're asking for God to put his fear upon us. Well, it's very simple. If you only fear God, you fear no one else. If God is the only master you have no other masters which are going to pull you in any direction. And you have a full trust in Hashem, and automatically your needs will be met. So let me bless you with a ktiva v'chatima tova, a year where we're all inscribed in the book of life, in a book of sweetness, revealed kindness, tangible kindness, a year where we fully trust in Hashem and when we fully trust in ourselves, a year where we are ready to go up in our levels of connection with God, a year where we are strong, we are determined, we have a purpose, and we follow our mission, we fulfill the mission that God intended when He created every single one of us. When we go with this mindset in the year, and I'm going to finish with a story, Rab Zalman Gorari once came to the Rebbe and asked the Rebbe for a blessing. The operation should be successful. The Rebbe looked at him with a smile and said, Rab Zalman, why don't you ask that you should not need an operation altogether and you should be healthy? So he said, okay, let me ask for a blessing that I should not need an operation. The Rebbe said, it's too late. The thought you went through the door with, this is the thought I can work with. Sometimes we limit God. The thought you go through the door, through the new year with, on Rosh Hashanah, the limitations that you put, these are the limitations in which Hashem can exist, can act, can bless. This year, take away the limitations. Put your trust fully in Hashem. Pray to Him, connect with Him, fusion yourself with Him. And you will see how everything will come in place. You'll be stronger, you'll be healthier, you'll be more fulfilled, you'll be happier, and you'll be able to really fulfill your mission and bring the world to its true purpose.